Well, hello there, folks, and a very warm welcome as usual back to What's for Tea. And I hope that I find you all very well indeed, and you are having a good week. And this week's recipe is a bit of a classic. It's Malteser slice, but I make mine a wee bit different in that I don't cover the top with a layer of chocolate simply because there's Maltesers on the top, and I think adding the extra layer of chocolate is just a bit too chocolatey, but you can add chocolate to the top of yours if you prefer. So the first thing we're going to do is make the biscuit base. So I've got some icing sugar, plain flour, some vanilla as well, some room temperature soft butter, and then some corn flour. So grab a big bowl, and there I've got my butter. I'm using unsalted butter, and then to this I'm going to add my icing sugar. I like to run everything through a sieve. It just helps, lightens up your biscuit. And then in with the vanilla, and you want to give this a good mix for about 5 or 6 minutes, and it will turn lovely and pale and fluffy just like this. And I like to stop about halfway, just scrape the bowl down just to make sure everything is getting evenly mixed. So scrape your bowl down and go back in again for another couple of minutes. And like I said, it will go very yellow to a very pale yellow colour. Then you can move on. In a separate bowl, I've got my plain or all-purpose flour. I'm going to combine this with the corn flour or the cornstarch, depending on where you are. So combine both of these. And again, I'm going to get the sieve out, and I'm going to sieve this a couple of times. Now, this might seem a bit over the top, but honestly, it's going to help to lighten up your biscuit and make it lovely and velvety in the mouth. So you don't have to do this. I'm just showing you what I like to do with this type of biscuit, just because the top is so heavy with the caramel and the chocolates. I like to make the base as light as possible. Once you've sieved this a couple of times, I'm going to sieve it again into my wet ingredients. I'm going to do this in a couple of stages just to make sure it's well combined. So pop half in and just give it a good mix, and eventually it will turn out looking something like this. And then I'm going to add the other half in, and again just run that through your sieve. Grab your spatula, and you want to give this a good mix through. Just sort of cut it in with the edge of your spoon or your spatula, and it will end up turning something like this, and you'll have a nice stiff, thick cookie dough or biscuit batter. I like to break mine up and pop this into my oven tray, and it will be sticky, but you'll be able to handle this. You'll be able to break it up and put it in bits, and this is just going to make it a wee bit easier for you to smoosh down and spread out with the back of a spoon. Just take it nice and easy, and eventually you'll be able to spread this out into a nice even layer, just like this. Like I said, I like to use the back of a spoon because I find it just so much easier. So pop this into the middle of your oven for about half an hour, gas mark 4 or 180°C, until it goes golden brown. Like I said, I'm going to top this with my Maltesers with no additional chocolate on the top, but you can use, like I said, the additional chocolate layer if you prefer. So while you're waiting that cooling down, get your caramel ready. So in with your sweetened condensed milk. I've got soft brown sugar here, and I'm also going to add some butter. You can use unsalted or salted, it's up to you. And I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of golden syrup. If you don't have golden syrup, you can get away with using light corn syrup. It's not quite the same, but it will do, if you can't get the golden syrup. And you just want to stir everything together on quite a low heat to begin with, just until everything is melted and well combined. And then you can crank your heat up and bring this up to a nice boil, and then you can reduce your heat again a wee bit just so you get a nice rolling boil. And you want to boil this for about 5 or 6 minutes, and it will darken and go nice and stretchy. The longer you boil this, the stretchier your caramel is going to be. So it's up to you how much chew you want your caramel. I find 5 or 6 minutes for this kind of thing more than enough. It's not going to be too chewy, but it's going to be chewy enough in my opinion. So get this into your oven tray, and then quickly add your Maltesers to the top of this. You want to do this whilst your caramel is still warm so that your Maltesers stick to the caramel. Give it a slight press down with the flat of your hand, and do allow this to set. It may take you a couple of hours. You can pop this into your fridge as well if you prefer. And once it's nice and set, you just want to remove your paper, and that's it, done. You can cut this into whatever size squares you like, but bear in mind this is obviously very, very sweet. There's lots of sugar in this, and your condensed milk is also very sweet. So I find smaller squares are all that's required for this kind of thing. So yeah, just cut this into whatever size squares you like, and you've got a lovely thick layer of biscuit, quite a generous layer of the caramel, and then of course your Maltesers on the top. This keeps for about a week in an airtight container, if it lasts that long. These kind of things only last a couple of days in my house. So yeah, do let me know if you're planning on giving this one a go. And a huge thank you as usual to the supporters of the channel over on my Patreon page, and to the channel members here on YouTube, for you all for watching, leaving your lovely comments, those that share the videos, those that have bought me a coffee using the Buy Me a Coffee link, and those that have left a super thanks donation on the channel as well. And I will catch up with you during the week for another wee video or 3 back here on What's for Tea. So until I see you, take care and bye for now. Bye now.